Hello and welcome to Brutally Honest Level Review with your host, NateFH, the Geometry Dash YouTube series where I give my brutally honest review of levels with no sugarcoating. And in this week's video, we will be reviewing Revolution by Funnygame. Remember to subscribe for more level reviews and make sure to comment what level you want me to review and I'll pick one out for the next episode. Revolution by Funnygame is a 7-star created in 1.9. This will be the first 1.9 level I'll be reviewing on this channel. I know I've kinda skipped 2.0, but I'm sure we'll review a 2.0 level one day. Hell, it might even be another Funnygame level, as there's a few that would be very interesting to talk about. Revolution is notable for being the first effect level in 1.9, or one of the very first, and for it, well, being revolutionary. I personally wasn't around for when this level released, but if one of you watching was, make sure to let me know in the comments what it was like, because I'm really interested. The vast majority of the gameplay in Revolution is pretty standard, as gameplay during this time wasn't super crazy, as stuff like gameplay flowing to the song or gameplay having a rhythm, as this wasn't very developed, with very few exceptions such as Dropkicker or Plasma Pulse 3. People just made simpler gameplay, which could still be fun. Personally, some of my favorite kinds of ship gameplay are the kind that you would find in older levels such as 1.9 or 2.0. Safe to say, I'm going to be going through each part pretty quickly as there isn't a whole lot to say. The starting cube is pretty simple and it has a fake pad. The UFO after is fine, but it does have this one weird bit where you can easily die here if you jump too far on the jumps prior. It's a wave part. This next cube is a nice break, but the one thing that annoys me is that in the first half, the staircases are off in their sync. Thank God the staircases are synced in the second half. Following that is this dual pole that, wait, are those jump indicators? These have to be some of the oldest jump indicators ever. Considering that this level came out 9 years ago, that makes these jump indicators older than about 30% of the people who play this game. Oh, the part itself is fine, I guess. It's a dual wave part. It's a mini wave part. Actually, both the first and the last wave sections do have some fakes, but a toddler could figure them out, so I'm sure they were done for some structural reasons. We're not talking about it. The cube after shows a small build up to the drop. The two ship parts in the drop are both pretty simple. The first one kind of reminds me of gameplay Rob that would make in a 1.2 level. The second is pretty similar, however, it's more open and has a small picket path in it. After the ship parts, there's this ball. Most notable thing here is that there's these blue orbs on these staircases that allow you to not have to buffer, which might make this an interesting gimmick in an extreme or an insane demon. Revolution ends off with a simple ship section, which again, is kind of similar to how Roswell might make some ship gameplay in one of his earlier levels. Overall, the gameplay is fine at the time, it still holds up decently well today, but it's not the reason people remember this level. The reason people remember this level is the deco, but ironically enough, the first part is pretty basic looking, kind of like a fan-made version of blast processing, even including the cube dude you see in the level, but it's Funnygame's icon. The most impressive thing about the first part is not only is the 3D correct, yes, that's a tall order for early 1.9 levels, the spikes and pads are even lifted off the ground a little bit. The first UFO really gives off the old Funnygame feel with these blocks that have pretty unique structures even for today's standards, with probably some of the first effects made in the 1.9 editor with these simple laser beam effects. After that is a wave that has a rainbow effect on it. The cube after and even the cube right before the drop are both standard 1.9 looking parts, but the first cube does have this checkered pattern on the background, so that's neat I guess. Going back right after the second cube, you enter the dual ball, which has some interesting block structures, with them being completely black, giving this part a silhouette vibe. The wave after really makes use of the 4 color channels, by using all of them to make these block designs that looks like something I would see in elementary school. The whole part is made up of this design with a color changing background. The wave after has this really cool twinkly starry night effect with slips that copy your player 1 color. After that wave part is the cube part I already talked about, then we get to the most iconic part of the level being this ship part, and it's iconic for a reason. The effect in this part is great looking even to this day, showing how ahead of his time Funnygame was. This part also happens at the perfect part of the song, as it does fit it quite well to a point it's hard to imagine anything else with this part of the song. It's not just a block effect however. There's also some stars that do fade on and off as well. The effects don't stop there. In the next part, there's a custom rainbow gradient background that kind of follows the player. Interestingly, this part uses the background as sort of a block design for the blocks, which is pretty creative. Although the color choices do clash rudely, the part is still pretty cool. The last ball part has some pretty simple black block structures, but the main thing here is this pulsing effect that's kind of similar to the 9 circles effect. This effect goes to the music, which isn't anything new for Funnygame at this point, as he's been doing this stuff since 1.2 or whenever he started. Finally, the level ends with a slow ship with some blocks that pulse to the final notes, and closes out on showing the player one more effect as the second half of the level is pretty effect heavy. Bigger blocks even show up when an extra layer of guitar is added. Now the main thing to talk about this level is how revolutionary it was for a time, and honestly, yeah it was. This level is groundbreaking as it showed people what creative things you could do with only 4 color slots. Imagine playing Blast Processing and seeing all these 1.9 levels that probably look very similar, and then seeing this ship part. This level is basically a Pandora's box for the entirety of the effect style. It's a good example on how sometimes limiting players can result in very creative outcomes. I'm not sure how many people realized how impactful Funnygame was. I would imagine this is similar to how the community saw HOW when it first came out, as that level also sent waves to the community. Many things you see in modern levels all stem from Funnygame. Obviously, he did revolutionize effects and push the community forward with them, but he also showed people how creative you could be with custom backgrounds in 2.0. And even having an option for low detail. Not only that, Funnygame was also responsible for starting 2 trends such as travel levels with only travel and boss fight levels with serious. I highly recommend watching Samifying's video on Funnygame if you're interested, and if you somehow haven't. Overall, Revolution is a level that was groundbreaking at its time and really showed the extent players could use the 1.9 editor. With all being said, I'll be giving Revolution a 6 out of 10. Now yes, this is with modern standards, but it's still pretty damn good for a level being that old. If I were doing it with the mindset of someone in 1.9, this level would probably be a 10 out of 10 as nothing else was nearly this good.